Good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever time it is by you. Welcome to the Underqualified Knuckleheads podcast. My name is Daniel, and I'm one of your co-hosts. Joined with me is...
I am Andy Newman, and thank you so much for joining us today. And every other day, well, not every other day, you can watch it or listen to it whenever you want, but we're going to be here every week from now until the end of the school year, right, Dan? Just talking about sports?
As long as they will let us in here, we will be here.
Yes. We might get kicked out. Hopefully we don't. We'll see. We'll just kind of figure out what happens.
Let's see how the ratings go. Either way, both Andy and I are future sports journalists, and we love to talk about sports, and somehow we feel qualified enough to talk about sports. Today we are talking all about the NFL, specifically the postseason and what's going to happen in the offseason.
Yeah, the NFL, obviously the greatest sports organization in the world. I'm just going to be completely honest with you, just so you kind of get a background for me. But yeah, let's head into the recap of the divisional round. I know, obviously, this was probably one of the greatest weekends of football I've ever seen in my entire life. Dan, I mean, I just sat down for, multiple hours, 12 hours, and watched some of the greatest football I've ever seen.
Honestly, I thought it was not going to be this type of weekend. I really thought we knew what was going to happen. We knew what games were going to play out the way they did. And honestly, every single one of my predictions was completely off. But I was glued to a chair, I was glued to my screen, and I could not take my eyes off some of these games.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so first up was the Saturday game against the Bengals and the Titans. Who did you have winning that game, Dan?
I thought with the Titans bringing back Derrick Henry, they would have a lot better of a chance. But there was a little bit of question as to whether or not the Titans rushed Henry back to the field. I don't think they did.
I think they did. If you look at Derrick Henry and how quickly he came off of that, he literally had to play in that game with 5 screws in his foot and a metal plate in his shoe. You're telling me that's one of the most important things that you can do as a running back in the NFL is have a foot that works, because that's literally your whole job. So I mean, I don't know if that's your that's the most important player on the field for the Titans. If you're having him with a literal robotic foot that's not even robotic, because robotic would actually make it better, but they rushed him.
I think if you have a player like Derrick Henry who is a capable of being the rushing leader. I mean, he finished 9th in rushing, and he didn't even play for most of the season.
Which is crazy.
Which is absolutely crazy. When he says he's ready to go and he wants to go out there and put it on the line, I would let him. I as the head coach, if he says he's 100%, if he knows he can go, I would let him. But obviously, he looked a little bit out of sorts. Maybe getting back into the scheme of things was a little too much for him at the time. And the Bengals really pulled out the win. Evan McPherson put the game on the line with his right foot as time expired to win the game. And I think I read a tweet that as he was warming up and walking onto the field, Evan McPherson turned back and goes, "Well, it looks like we're going to the AFC Championship." And that is ice in your veins.
That guy is low-key cold. How can you as a rookie kicker go out there and say, "Well, it looks like we're going to the AFC Championship"? And I mean, obviously, Ryan Tannehill throws that key pick there towards the end of the game, and he throws 3. I mean, were all of them his fault? No, but is Ryan Tannehill really your answer when he has to come at crunch time in the postseason? Are the Titans really going to get to the Super Bowl and win it with Ryan Tannehill? I don't know.
I don't think Ryan Tannehill is the guy you lean to on that team when you need a game winner. I think the guy is Derrick Henry, he was not able to be leaned on in that game. No, he wasn't the guy, and they leaned on Ryan Tannehill, and we saw how that turned out.
Yeah, which is why I think that they probably rushed him a little bit too much, personally. If you cannot lean on Derrick Henry, which they have to, and then again, and there's a core problem with the Titans' entire game plan and how they run their team, is if your entire game is based off one dude and then him doing pretty much everything like Derrick Henry, and then that whole thing is causing him to get hurt and injured, then there's an obvious problem with how that whole thing is structured.
I mean, I agree. Yeah, if the key to your attack is a running back who might be injured, might not be injured, you have to lean on him no matter what. That's obviously
leaning on him is getting him injured.
Yeah, I mean, if that's not something you want as a franchise.
No.
You want options. And they traded for Julio Jones in the offseason. They have A.J. Brown.
And Julio did not perform.
But they did not perform to the level that everyone thought they would.
And A.J. was hurt half the year. Julio was hurt the entire year. He kind of came on in that game. He had a couple bright spots. And A.J. Brown is just a complete and utter beast. But no one was healthy the whole year. And you can't lean on Ryan Tannehill to win you an AFC championship, a Super Bowl, or even a divisional round game.
Yeah, I mean, all diss to the Titans, but also all credit to Joe Burrow and this Bengals team. I think at the beginning of the season, everyone gave that organization a lot of flack for drafting Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell when Joe Burrow tore his ACL, being the most sacked quarterback in his rookie year last year. But
somehow in a fantastic decision, was it not?
You have a lethal attack in Jamar Chase, and it has carried them to the AFC Championship.
When you're concerned that a rookie, could pop off for 250 yards at any given time, and if he doesn't, you have Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins that can basically do the exact same thing, and then C.J. Uzomah, which is coming out of nowhere. I mean,
lethal in attack.
If you give that team right now, like the Colts O-line, just in general, I think they could easily win the Super Bowl. But I mean, they were able to beat the Titans, which isn't that huge of a. I mean, the Titans were good.
Yeah, I will definitely bring up O-line when we get to conference championship picks. But moving on, we had the 49ers beat the Packers at Lambeau,
which was surprising.
What a surprise! I don't think the Niners would have beaten the Packers at home at not Candlestick Park, but you know what I mean.
Levi Stadium.
Yeah, Levi Stadium. I don't think the 49ers would have beaten the Packers if they had the home advantage, let alone
which is crazy,
beat them in the cold of Lambeau Field. And another game-winning kick, another crazy game that went down to the final seconds. What was your thoughts on that?
They didn't even score an offensive touchdown. Jimmy G literally had to do absolutely nothing the entire game. They didn't score a single offensive touchdown. Not one.
Which
is crazy.
So it is credit to their defense for holding future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers to only 10 points.
Future first ballot Hall of Famer.
First ballot. Full stop. He is a Hall of Famer.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And then that just shows you how good the Niners defense is. Like, in comparison, okay, so if you go back and look at the year that they played in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, I would honestly argue that defense was better than the defense right now. Because they had DeForest Buckner, they had other guys at key positions, and I feel like they're like not as great, but they're playing just as good, if not better.
They are still working their mojo, and I think the Packers really have to look at what happened on special teams that game. Missed field goal, blocked punt, I think another blocked field goal as well, if I'm not mistaken. People don't think that's what loses you games in the NFL, but at this point in the season, that is what loses you games.
And here's the thing. With both of those games, there was two obvious problems from three of the teams, I would say. And from all four. I think the playoffs really brings out your biggest problems and issues and exploits them in big games. So for the Titans, it was obviously not being able to lean on Derrick Henry and having a subpar quarterback. I wouldn't say subpar. I'd probably say he's probably the most par quarterback in the NFL.
Par for the course. Respectfully average.
I'd say he's pretty good.
He can throw the football.
He's pretty good for par, I would say.
He goes there.
But but you can't lean on him to win a game, and you can't lean on Derrick Henry if he's hurt. So that there was an issue that was obviously shown. Then the Bengals, their O-line, completely blown wide open, 9 sacks. You see that issue with the otherwise completely solid team. Yeah. And then the Niners, offense, not great. That was obviously shown. They didn't score a single touchdown. And then the Packers, their special teams lost in the game. That was an area of weakness that was completely blown open and exposed by the 49ers. And it's just crazy how much the playoffs just kind of expose those things when you don't think they're that big of an issue in the regular season, but they come down, when it comes down to it, they were huge.
Yeah, I completely agree. And let's shift over to the Rams escaping Tom Brady and the Bucs. Let's talk about that game because
as much as people want to talk about the Bills and the Chiefs, this was a bigger game.
This was also, I think, this is a bigger game. Not only to showcase that Tom Brady still got it. I know he's contemplating retirement, but he could still play in the league.
He probably could. I really hope that he retires. I'm going to be completely honest with you. If you haven't already noticed, I'm a guy from Indiana. I love the Colts. I love Peyton Manning. I love just everything about the Colts, and one of the things that comes with loving the Colts is hating Tom Brady and the Patriots. And so Tom Brady retiring would probably be completely fine with me. Literally watching that entire game, you know what I felt like? I was back in 2017 and watching Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons just completely fail. That's what I thought was going to happen.
They went into halftime, and I think one of the commentators, might have been Joe Buck, kept saying, you know what Tom Brady's doing in the locker room right now? He's telling them the story. He goes, guys, I was once down by 21 points in a game, 23 points in a game. Yeah. And I was like, no, it can't happen. And then you watch the Rams go and almost blow the game.
Yeah, no. And I hate it because, so one of my friends in my fantasy football group chat, Ethan Brubaker, was just talking the entire game about, it's over. It's over. It's 27-3, Andy. It's over. And I'm like, Brube, have you ever watched a Patriots game? Have you ever watched a Tom Brady game? It's never over. And I knew it wasn't because I was stone cold the entire time. Until it hits 0-0, I do not count Tom Brady out of any football game ever.
There's a reason why Tom Brady's nickname is the comeback kid. But
it's crazy.
At Raymond James Stadium, he was not the comeback kid.
The thing is, he didn't even really do anything. I mean, he had that one nice touchdown to Mike Evans. But otherwise, it was just the Rams just deciding that they just didn't want to play football anymore for some reason.
3 fumbles from Cam Akers. He came back in the NFC wildcard game, and it was his first game back after, I think, a torn Achilles in the preseason.
Which is crazy.
He did what everyone expected Derrick Henry to do. He came out, and he popped off, and he had an amazing performance, especially taking into account that he comes back from injury. But then
there was one glaring issue, and it was fumbles.
Yeah.
If Cam Akers doesn't fumble that ball, it's over, obviously.
Yeah.
I think, and then there was a key field goal missed by the Rams kicker towards the end of the game. If he would have made that field goal, it would have
iced the game out. But then you let him, you a little bit of drama.
It's crazy. Tom Brady thrives on it. I don't understand how it works, what he does. If he has, I swear, he's made some sort of deal with some divine power in order for him to get back into these games.
Tom Brady's got to deal with the devil.
I think he does. There's no way. The dude was a 6th round draft pick, came out of nowhere, and then became the greatest football player of all time, winning more Super Bowls than any NFL franchise ever, and can do that.
It's being the 199th pick in the NFL draft. That is it. That is it. It's being drafted in the 6th round, and nobody giving him any credit. When he was playing at Michigan, they brought in a new freshman quarterback as he was a senior, and they started playing that freshman quarterback above him. So it's that chip on his shoulder that's carried him throughout the year. Throughout his whole career.
Yeah. As much as I hate him, I gotta respect him.
You gotta respect him.
I am totally fine with him calling it a career. Gronk, sad. Yeah, I think it looks like Gronk might be out too. If Gronk's out, I think Brady's out.
I think he'll call it a career.
Yeah.
Now let's turn to probably the greatest postseason football game we might have ever seen.
Actually, but before we do that though, I think we need to talk about Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford at the end of that game. I think so. I think we need to highlight that. As bad as that Rams game kind of started to get,
when the game's on the line,
and I know you're a big Matthew Stafford guy.
I'm a big Matthew Stafford fan. Coming from Michigan, being a Detroit fan, Matthew Stafford gave 13 years of his life to the city of Detroit, and we couldn't repay him. And now we traded him for a king's ransom, by the way. But
yeah.
But now I get to watch Matthew Stafford go and potentially win a Super Bowl, and you know what? That'll be as close as I think the Lions are going to get in the next decade to winning a Super Bowl. But we got a guy who's going to go win the Super Bowl. And for 13 years, everyone was like, "Oh, Matthew Stafford was a bust. He was a
I always thought he was good.
He was good.
He was good.
He was good. And now he's in Sean McVay's offense. He's got weapons. He's got weapons upon weapons upon weapons in that offense. And now people are seeing, you know what? This guy can really play. And
a fantastic defense to back him up. Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. But okay.
Not in the second half of that game.
No,
though.
Exactly. And every facet of that team shut down at the end of that game except for the last 34 seconds.
Yeah.
What in the world? So I'm assuming, Tom Brady goes in, Leonard Fournette gets that touchdown. I'm like, well, it's the Super Bowl all over again. I knew it. I knew it the whole time. I'm texting my group chat. I'm like, guys, I told you. I literally at halftime, I'm like, Bucks are winning this thing. Easy. And I thought it was going to happen. I'm like, there's no way, because the Rams were doing literally nothing on offense the entire second half. And then out of nowhere, Cooper Kupp just says, yep, nope, we're going to win this thing. And so does Matthew Stafford. Insane.
You can't. I think the greatest thing we saw in Sean McVay's offense so far in the postseason is they aren't leaning on Cooper Kupp the way that the Titans are leaning on Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
They are using Cooper Kupp in a bunch of different roles, in a bunch of different positions. They're using him blocking him. They're using him as a slot receiver. They're not targeting him as their number one guy, so that late in the game, when they need to throw a touchdown, when they need to get up the field, you have Matthew Stafford and you have Cooper Kupp. And this is where Matthew Stafford shines. We've seen it countless times in Detroit, running down the field. Matthew Stafford clock the ball. There's the game where he put his shoulder out of socket and he ran down the field to spike the ball, and he's mic'd up, and you can hear him voice cracking and everything, just screaming, "Clock it, clock it, clock it!" And you see him running down the field in a Rams uniform, doing the same exact thing. You know, it's Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, and hey, that that pass and that catch.
Beautiful.
Oh,
Poetry in motion.
like I may or may not have screamed a couple expletives in my dorm room, and people may or may not have heard me. And this was coming right after an email that said noise complaints.
Oh,
keep them
jeez.
down.
Oh, jeez. Gotta love
so,
it.
May have not been the best idea, but hey, I could not control myself.
I had sent a quick little apology text to my wing, and I was like, hey, guys, if you hear me screaming, Matt Gay just won the Rams the game. No one's hurt or anything like that.
Yeah.
I apologize in advance. But I think some just quick before we move on to the Bills-Chiefs game, talking about throws and catches, Titans did lose. What about that catch? Did you see that touchdown catch where Tannehill throws, I think it was A.J. Brown, in the end zone. A.J. Brown's turning, and it just slots into his left arm.
Crazy.
And it is a beautiful catch. That's about the best we saw from the Titans offense. Moving on to probably one of the greatest offensive performances from two quarterbacks in one game, Bills-Chiefs.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. What a game.
The first half wasn't even that great.
It wasn't.
It was okay.
It wasn't.
It was like just a normal football game. I feel like it was back and forth, but it was like kind of like.
It was like,
and
okay.
Second half kind of like started getting stuff going, and then
final 2 minutes.
The final 2 minutes was one of the most insane things I've ever seen in a football game.
25 points scored in the final minute and 54 seconds. That is the second most in regular season or postseason history in that kind of game. So here's the question, though. Is this a defensive thing, or is this just Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are so good at football?
Yeah, and I think what a lot of people are talking about this week is Mahomes versus Allen, the new Manning versus Brady, and I think it might be.
I think it just might be.
But you know who else kind of wants to put himself in that conversation?
Joe Burrow.
But, I think Allen and Mahomes are probably the two better quarterbacks in the AFC right now, and in the NFL, actually. But that, and obviously showcased by one of the most insane last 2 minutes of the game you probably will ever see.
You've got to feel for Josh Allen. He throws
so bad. I was rooting for the Chiefs, not the Chiefs. I was rooting for the Bills.
I wanted Josh Allen. I wanted Josh Allen to finally vanquish the Chiefs in the playoffs and get himself to that AFC Championship game. But throws a touchdown to Gabriel Davis, who had 4 touchdowns in that game. Wow. 13 seconds on the clock. They take the lead. Josh Allen's like, I'm going to the AFC Championship game. And then they gave Patrick Mahomes 13 seconds.
Which is crazy.
What the heck?
So my friend and my roommate, Jacob Newland, he is not a football guy whatsoever. His eyes were glued to the screen. He said, I've never had this kind of feeling towards sports before in my entire life. I'm like, it is insane. He goes, after Josh Allen threw the touchdown, he goes, wow, that's crazy. And I'm like, yeah. And then he goes, so there's only 13 seconds left. The game's over. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. But there's a guy on the other side of the sidelines that can make this thing a game. And he's like, there's no way. I'm like, Jacob, the only person in the world, probably one of the only people in the world that can make this a game is the guy with the ball right now.
Two quarterbacks in my mind come straight to my mind that could do that with 13 seconds on the clock. It's Tom Brady and it's Patrick Mahomes.
Correct.
Tom Brady, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. You hate to admit it sometimes.
Why are we talking about Tom Brady so much on this podcast? Can we not?
It's not a Tom Brady podcast.
No,
I promise.
It's not.
But Patrick Mahomes does that. Greatest of all time. Run down the field. We're gonna clock it, and we're gonna give him a chance to tie it up, and then we go to overtime.
Yeah.
And you know how I feel about this, Andy, but what do you think about these OT rules?
Now, I've never been a huge fan of overtime in the NFL, and I think flipping a coin to win a playoff game is just kind of crazy. But again, a lot of the backup statement that people have to back the OT rules currently for the NFL is that defense is just as important as offense, and
defense wins championships.
Yeah, and obviously, but I don't know, not giving, as I think Pat McAfee and a couple other guys are talking about this, it feels like the offense and the defense on a team are two completely different teams almost at a perspective. So if you only give one of them a chance, I don't know why you don't give both. I feel like it makes sense. If you're a pro football team, you have to get a stop. Yeah. But why aren't you giving the other offense a chance as well?
Right. So here's my viewpoint on it. Not only are you completely right, both offenses should get a chance. In a game where they scored 25 points after the 2-minute warning, whichever team gets the ball will have the momentum to score. You know that. And the defense is depleted. Long game, 4 quarters. Now they're going to extra time. If they're already giving up 25 points, the defensive units in that game are giving up 25 points in the final 2 minutes, you know they are not going to have it in them to stop them in overtime.
And as of right now, I do believe that the overtime coin flip in the playoffs, the record is 10-1 for the team that
10-1. 10-1 to the team that wins the coin toss.
Which is...
It's
if you look at that, I mean, that's pretty obvious that there's an issue.
on that stat alone.
Like,
But-
it's not an outlier stat or anything. That's just like a pretty obvious, like, well, this is kind of what is just going to happen.
Right? Honestly, yeah, that's kind of just what's going to happen.
I think if you look at that 10-1 stat, something obviously has to change.
Something's got to change.
And there's no way that you're going to be able to just like... I think my thought process behind it is people want it to be like a normal football game, right? And they don't want it to be like the college rules where you start at your 25, you go get a touchdown or whatever. I think you just kick it off. You let the team have a chance, go down and score. If they score a touchdown, they have to go for 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do the exact same thing with the other team. And if they don't get a touchdown, or the first team gets a field goal or whatever, and they get a touchdown, they win, kind of thing.
Or let's just do it like this. Let's cut the overtime period in half. Make it like a 5-minute half, a 5-minute overtime period.
Okay.
And the teams just play, and the teams just play. They just continue playing for 5 more minutes.
Like kind of like soccer.
Kind of like soccer, just 5 minutes of extra time. If they're still tied after that, you could do this. I think it might have been Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee. Sorry.
Yes. Pat McAfee.
Might have been Pat McAfee. It might have been just something I was reading on Twitter. Put each kicker at the 5-yard line.
Oh yeah.
Kicker kicks a field goal. If he makes it, he goes back 5 yards, and you just keep going until one wins and one doesn't.
And I like also the one where the linemen have to catch like punts.
Yeah.
I think that's fun. Obviously, neither of those are going to happen. But
maybe in the
maybe
XFL
the kicker one. Oh, the XFL or the USFL
or the USFL, we might see that.
Yes.
All right.
But I think something's got to change.
Yeah.
But after those games, obviously, looking into the AFC and NFC Championship. First up, we got the AFC Championship, Chiefs versus Bengals, and Joe Burr at Chiefs Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on CBS. Daniel, who do you got?
First off, I accidentally scheduled myself to work on Sunday, so I will be doing whatever I can. I'm definitely going to make the evening game, but I really wanted to watch that Rams game. So
that's a massive L.
Oh, actually, no, yeah, I'll make the Rams game 6:30. I'll be off work by then, but I'm a little more focused on the Rams. Matthew Stafford makes me an honorary Rams fan, but let's keep it on the AFC side. I've got Chiefs by 10. Bengals are crazy. Like, good for them. They made it. They win their playoff games. They advance to the first AFC championship in forever.
Yeah.
But they're not the team yet. They will be in the following seasons. I
think they could. Oh yeah.
I think in the next 2 or 3 years,
I think they'll be lethal in the next couple years.
The Bengals will,
once they get an O-line,
they'll install an O-line in that team, and they will be a perennial AFC championship and potential Super Bowl favorite. But you can't compete with KC right now. And we go back to that offensive line issues. Yeah, they drafted Jamar Chase instead of Penei Sewell, and he's been lights out for them. But like I said before, Joe Burrow is the second most sacked QB in the regular season. Only one ahead of him is Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
So that lets you know where he stands on that. And honestly, you just can't. You just can't bet against the Chiefs, especially after that Bills game. I just can't. I cannot bet against the Chiefs.
Yeah. Okay, and I'm going to have to agree with you there. And I have the Chiefs actually by 14. So I think the Bengals are a team that could beat the Chiefs. I think 100% the Bengals are a team that could beat the Chiefs. They obviously did towards the end of the regular season. Joe Burrow goes down there. They have that weird, if you remember that game, that weird last 2 minutes, they're all on the 1 yard line, and it keeps going back, and they have penalties, and it's super weird. Joe Burrow doesn't have a nameplate for some reason. It's very odd, but they were able to beat the Chiefs. They beat the Chiefs. I think they can, it was at home.
It was at home,
and it was by 2.
It was by 2.
Yeah,
it was in the regular season. Do you think the Chiefs really cared?
I think, and the Chiefs, they're just so much. The Chiefs have so much more experience.
And
when you're fourth, fourth AFC Championship in 4 years.
Oh my God!
And Joe Burrow, this is his first full NFL season,
right? So
also Jamar Chase. Yeah,
I mean, let's look back to that regular season game. When you're a team like the Chiefs, you kind of just cruise to the playoffs at a certain point. There's a little bit in there that we'll drop one of the Bengals. It won't be that big of a deal.
Yeah,
but this is AFC Championship game. This is Patrick Mahomes with the Super Bowl on the line.
Yeah, I don't think the Bengals really have a chance.
And they're going to be in Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah,
which is one of the hardest stadiums to play in away from home.
But yeah, so I have the Chiefs by 14. I really don't think the games this week are going to be very good. They could be. I'm saying that right now, but I just the matchups that we have, I just don't think will be great.
It looks like it's a little easy to lean one way or the other. Speaking of moving over to the NFC side of the ball, we have Rams versus Niners at the Rams at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fox. Andy, who are you rooting for?
You know what? I'm going to okay, here's the thing. In these two games, I'll be rooting for the Bengals and I'll be rooting for the 49ers, but I do not have either of those teams winning. I have the Chiefs winning, and then obviously now I have the Rams, and I have the Rams winning by 17.
Oh, jeez.
I have the Rams blowing out the Niners, and which is crazy because the last two games that the Rams and the Niners have played, Rams have lost, like bad.
Last two games they've played, Rams have lost.
Yeah, there was the Niners blew them out first at home, and then they went to Rams. The Niners absolutely flooded the entire SoFi Stadium, and the Rams had a 17-0 lead like at one point in time, did they not? And they blew it.
They blew it.
But I don't think that's going to happen again. One of the hardest things in the NFL, one of the hardest things in sports, I feel like, especially in the NFL, is being a team 3 times in a season. It is so difficult.
Over the course of a decade, it is hard to be consistently better than a single team, let alone beating them 3 times in the same season.
Yeah, it is so hard. And I do not think that the Rams are going to let it happen for a third time. And I don't think Sean McVay lets it happen for a third time. So I don't see the Niners winning that game at all. And I think the Rams, obviously they'll be at home and they're doing whatever that weird thing is with the not letting fans in from the LA area that aren't, or like outside the LA area.
I think it's like supposed to be more of a COVID thing, but
it's not. It's literally just so, because did you see how many Niners fans were at the Rams stadium?
Yeah.
An insane amount.
Insane.
I mean,
and the Rams fan base is not that large right now.
No,
because,
it's bigger than the Chargers.
It's bigger than the Chargers fan base.
I like the Chargers, but But no, I don't. I think hopefully there'll be a couple more Rams fans or just random celebrities that just decided to go or whatever. But the Niners. I think the Niners are kind of a little beat up too. I mean, I think everyone's going to play. Yeah. Like George Kittle will play, Debo will play. But I think they're after a sub-0 game in Lambeau and down to the wire. I think they're just kind of
yeah.
I don't know. They're beat up.
I agree. I think the offense is going to be a little bit maybe in a bit of a rut. I mean, you didn't score an offensive touchdown against the Packers.
Yep.
And you're going up against a defense that is arguably better than the Green Bay Packers. So I think there's going to be a little bit of not a lot of confidence from this San Francisco offense. Jimmy G, he's got a great record. He's 33 and something in the regular season. He's 5-1 in the playoffs. Why can nobody thinks he's he's the guy in San Francisco? Why?
I don't know. He's a winner though.
He's a winner.
But he doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
like I don't know. I don't know. And then did you say you have the Rams winning? Correct.
Rams by 7. Yes.
Yeah. So it's sad that we have to both pick the same teams in both of them.
What if we're wrong?
We could be. And that's.
You can find out next week.
What if the Bengals and the Niners make it to the Super Bowl and we're completely wrong? What happens?
You know what?
That'd be one of the most crazy, insane things, and fitting for a year that's just so crazy in the NFL.
With the amount of parity that's been in the NFL, not only this season, just the past couple of seasons, I would not be surprised. And like I said, we are underqualified to be talking about this.
No, yeah.
So
but everyone else is picking this. Every other sports talk show. And
touche.
Analyst or whatever.
We're up there with the best of them.
And if you're a sports bettor at the beginning of the season, placing a bet on the Rams and the Chiefs to be in the Super Bowl was actually probably your number one bet. I would assume, other than like the Buccaneers or somebody, or the Buccaneers or the Green Bay Packers or somebody like that. But I think the Rams Chiefs is definitely a bet that a lot of people have placed.
Yeah.
But absolutely nobody would put the Bengals and the Niners. No one.
No, who would?
I don't know.
Who would? You got Joe Burrow in his first season.
They're a 4 and a 6 seed.
Come on, you can't.
Imagine that Super Bowl.
As somebody who loves a good football story, I would love to see that.
That'd be so funny. I'm sorry,
but I don't think so.
Just imagine Joe Burrow and Jimmy G battling out in the Super Bowl.
Just common sense,
instead of Matthew Stafford.
You got Tom Brady's backup and a kid a year removed from LSU just tore his ACL. I don't know.
I think that'd still be great though.
I would love to see it. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see it, but I really want to see Matthew Stafford win a Super Bowl.
I know. But anyway, okay, so after obviously this whole week has been crazy with NFL news, rumors, everything like that. We're going to get an insane amount more of those in the offseason when people can't talk about anything other than just offseason rumors and stuff. But crazy news coming out of the NFL this week. Sean Payton retires. What do you think is his legacy? Where do the Saints go from here? Personally, for me, his legacy, I don't know. I'm a Colts fan, and he beat me in the Super Bowl, so I'm not a huge fan. And that whole Bountygate thing, is that his legacy? Is Bountygate his legacy?
I disagree. I think Sean Payton is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He came into a New Orleans franchise who had just survived Hurricane Katrina, won 2 Super Bowls, one of the greatest winning percentages of.
We only won 1, actually.
Only 1?
Yeah.
Oh.
The only Super Bowl that Sean Payton has ever
actually
won. Or the Saints. Well, the Saints with Sean Payton was literally just against the Colts.
Okay,
so he's only won 1.
Maybe a little underqualified here. You can't. When a coach spends that long with a franchise, and has a winning percentage that he does, you got me going back and forth on it now, Andy. I mean, let's talk his success in the playoffs. Not that much.
No, they.
But hear me out. Let's throw it back to Rams-Patriots Super Bowl. Only reason the Rams are there is because of one of the most
and they
blown calls in NFL history.
And they would have had 2.
They would have beat the
I think
Patriots.
they would have beat the Patriots too.
They would have. So
sucks.
I mean, you can't compare a coach's legacy to an officiating call, but I still think he'll be in the Hall of Fame. Right now, though,
do you think he's actually retired though?
I don't think he's retiring. He mentioned on one of the ESPN talk shows that he's already had 2 teams reach out to him via quote-unquote back channels. But I think he's going to take a year. I think he will at least take a year, focus a little bit more on his media career. I think he's going to pull somewhat of a John Gruden, and that he's going to go, maybe commentate some games, maybe appear on some analyst shows, and then he's going to, bob off. He's going to hop back onto a team.
Be Urban Meyer. That would probably not go well.
Yeah. I don't think we should be comparing Sean Payton to Urban Meyer.
No.
He is certainly not. Next up in the list, Saints got to find a new head coach.
Yeah, and you think it's Brian Flores?
I don't think they looked into Brian Flores, but honestly, I think part of the reason why Payton left, and part of the reason why the coaching hire is going to be so bad, is financially the Saints are in a terrible position.
Have no money.
They are $74 million over the NFL salary cap for the 2022 season, which is $34 million more than the next closest team according to Over the Cap.
Dear God.
Like, how do you deal with that? You as a head coach, unless you get promised a fire sale, which the Saints are in pretty good fire sale rebuild mode, but unless you get promised a fire sale, I do not want to go into that franchise.
Yeah. I don't know. Jameis Winston's an interesting quarterback to play for, though.
He's not
the coach for. I mean,
I
don't know.
I think he could be a guy.
And then Michael Thomas is always hurt.
At least
Alvin Kamara's got issues.
But they're tradable. Cam Jordan tradable.
Yeah, Cam Jordan's good though.
Yeah, Cam Jordan's good.
I don't know. It's an intriguing coaching position, but obviously with all of that, as a GM, that would be probably the worst place to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Do they currently? I think they do currently have a GM still in place.
Yes, they do.
That guy is going to have a horrible offseason.
Yeah, they're all going to have a fun time. Let's run through the Antonio Brown a little quickly because it's Antonio Brown. How many times you got to say it?
I don't know, dude. Why is he? Okay, so he wants to be on the Ravens, obviously. I think that could possibly be a thing.
No, that is Antonio Brown tweeting stuff at 2 a.m. because he wants people to look at it.
Well, yeah, no, but Lamar Jackson tweeted him back, though. And it seems like Lamar would be in. They're both South Florida guys. I feel like they kind of understand each other a little bit. I don't know.
Why do they keep giving this guy chances?
Because he's so good.
He's so good, but you got to risk the fact that he's not even going to play. You got to risk the monetary value. You know he's going to want to get paid.
It's because he's one of the greatest wide receivers in NFL history. I'm sorry.
He's also one of the craziest wide receivers in NFL history?
Yeah.
Without a doubt in my mind.
Well, I don't know. It's because of how good he is. No team, if this was, I don't know, not to throw any random person under the bus, but like Zach Pascal for the Colts, if this was Zach Pascal, he would not have a job.
He wouldn't set foot in an NFL field again. No.
If this was like anyone that had just like is not one of the greatest wide receivers in the NFL ever. I love you, Zach. I'm sorry. You do a lot for the Indianapolis Colts. Thank you so much.
Oh, jeez.
But anyway, if you're just like if you're not one of the most upper echelon wide receivers in NFL history, you're not going to be continuing to possibly get a job. I'm sorry. But it's Antonio Brown.
Well, at this point, an ESPN article said Brown claimed that the Bucs offered him $200,000 to sit on the sidelines and commit himself to mental health and treatment, which Brown refused.
And he's suing the Bucs now too.
He's now suing the Bucs because they cut him because he was playing on an ankle that he couldn't play on. What I'm seeing right now is a little bit of a he said issue where you've got Brown saying what Brown's saying, you got Arians saying what he's saying, and then you got Tom Brady in the middle.
I don't trust either source. NFL Films has to have the audio.
They have to have.
They do. NFL Films has the audio for everything.
They definitely have the audio.
Don't even tell me they don't have the audio.
They definitely picked it up.
They do.
And honestly, but I could have seen this you could have probably predicted this. Brown was not a pick that Arians wanted.
I'm so glad I traded him away from my fantasy team.
They signed Brown because Tom Brady wanted Brown. Arians said he's going to have a very short leash, and obviously this is what he meant.
But yeah, I don't think maybe it'll work out. Maybe it'll work out for them.
Maybe he'll go to the Rams.
I don't think he's going to get the $200,000 that he's suing the Buccaneers for.
No, he's not getting that.
Maybe he goes to the Ravens. Maybe
he goes.
Happens.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I think it said yeah.
You know, as crazy as it seems that a dude will literally take off his shirt, quit mid-game, and run across the field shirtless and throw stuff into the stands, you would think, oh yeah, that's a death sentence in the NFL. Somehow he will probably still get a job next season.
Somehow he'll be playing somewhere.
He will.
Or we might see him pop up in the XFL or the USFL.
I'm sure he won't go there.
I'm sure, but we'll see. Now moving on to
the final.
Andy's probably.
This is my pipe dream.
Andy's favorite topic of the podcast. Aaron Rodgers.
We're grasping for straws. Just to be completely honest.
Yes, the Colts fans are deliriously grasping for straws. But Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show.
Pat McAfee. Come on, say his name right,
dude. I idolized him.
He's a fixture in the NFL community, in the sports community, and in the Colts community.
I did high school football. I did his kickoff thing where you recover your own kick, and it's because my mom said like Pat McAfee, or
it's Pat McAfee.
Yeah, she said Pat McAfee.
Love you,
once.
Pat.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Either way, Aaron Rodgers did appear on Pat's show.
Yes, and he said he appears every Tuesday during the regular season and during the season for the NFL. It's Aaron Rodgers Tuesdays, so he's there every week.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so they have his segment. So this week was recapping the end of the season for the Green Bay Packers, and
tough loss.
You know, Aaron Rodgers was wearing a little Colts blue. Pat McAfee pointed that out.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
And then,
Here
I don't know.
Here goes.
And Pat McAfee just goes, oh, you look good in blue.
Oh,
you look good in blue, bro.
Oh, my.
I know. It's nothing.
Okay.
I'm well aware that it's nothing, but he did make an interesting comment that I thought was kind of interesting, very interesting. So, obviously, Aaron Rodgers is definitely a controversial guy when it comes to media and media exposure.
Very much so.
And he does not like to go and talk to like mainstream media like ESPN, Fox, anything like that.
But boy, does he love Pat.
No, he does. And because of that, he's going to announce the future of his NFL life on Pat McAfee's show in Indy.
Okay, but here's the deal.
In Indy, though.
In Indy, yeah, because that's where Pat McAfee shoots the show.
In Indy. And Pat McAfee was just talking about how good the Colts are. And he's like, well, maybe I should just announce my decision in Indy.
Okay. This is where the delirious Colt fan bias comes in. I can honestly tell you, though, nobody knows what's going on in Aaron Rodgers' head right now.
I think
he's playing games. I think he's playing games. He's just going to retire.
Well, I don't think he retires. I don't think he goes back to the Packers because there's no way they're going to not do a rebuild year.
Say it on three. 1, 2, 3.
Broncos. Yeah, okay.
He's got to go to the Broncos. They just hired,
which sucks.
They just hired the former Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. They have a great receiving core, and honestly, if they have a quarterback,
I think they'll get Devontae Adams too.
If they get
if they get Aaron, they get Devontae.
If they get Aaron and they get Devontae, they are Super Bowl. No, I stand by that.
You think
you got a stingy defense? You got Sutton in the backfield. You got
you got Sutton as a wide receiver.
Not, who am I talking about?
You're Javonte Williams. You got Mike.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I know the guy out of West Virginia.
Yes, some guy.
they have a team.
Really leaning into the underqualified.
Yes, here, just a little underqualified.
I'm well aware of. Jerry Jeudy.
There we go. Jerry Jeudy's on the receiving core.
Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and Devontae Adams.
There we go. Come on,
sick.
With Aaron Rodgers throwing to them.
Yeah.
They already had a pretty good defense last season. The big thing last season was they didn't have a quarterback that could throw to any of their wide receivers.
Yeah.
No.
And then I don't know. I don't know if I would say they're Super Bowl.
Maybe not Super Bowl, but definitely playoff easy. Maybe AFC Championship.
The thing is that we know very little about the the Broncos because no one really cared about.
Yeah, no one really cared about the Broncos until Payton.
I mean,
went
like you know a couple guys, a couple
You
key
looked
guys,
over.
Cortland, Teddy Bridgewater, Jerry Jeudy.
You watch
Jerry Jeudy popped
Drew
up.
Luck do his dance on the sideline every now and then.
Yeah, but no.
But here, think of this: you got Herbert, you got Mahomes,
Yeah, that'll
you
be
got Carr, and you got Rodgers in
That'll
the
be
AFC West.
sick. That'll be a sick
wow.
division. That'd be
Wow.
crazy.
Wow.
And the NFC West, I think currently is probably the best division in football right now. You got the Rams, you got the Cardinals, you got the Niners, and you got the Seahawks. I think that would rival that easy.
You said the AFC West?
No, NFC West.
Oh, NFC West.
Yeah.
No.
I think that's the best division in football right now.
I think the AFC West was the best division in football last season.
Well, yeah, and I think if you bring in Aaron
Rodgers,
to
it just becomes the best.
the
Honestly,
Wests are so good.
in preseason, I would have told you it was the AFC North, and then we watched the Steelers, the Browns, and the Ravens all lay eggs.
They're all like kind of mediocre.
And then you got the Bengals, who
Bengals
are
are somehow good.
came out as the 4 seed AFC Championship.
It's weird because everyone in the AFC North was kind of like, I'm like, oh my gosh, could they all make the playoffs? And they were like, oh no, we're all just kind of really
Like
mediocre.
they all looked like they could have made the playoffs,
they were
and then
so
all in like
mediocre.
a 2-week span, they all dropped out.
And I do not understand how the Bengals did it. I will still never understand that.
Hey, you don't have to. You just gotta look at Joe Burr and let him have his day.
And he's gonna win the Super Bowl.
And he's gonna win the Super Bowl.
I'm calling it right now, even though I didn't call it. But Joe Burrow is just too good, and they're gonna beat Patrick Mahomes.
Okay,
and it's not gonna happen. But
well, thank you very much for joining your 2 favorite underqualified college students today.
We've come to the end.
We've come to the end of episode number 1, but we will be back here next week doing the same thing, talking about maybe some new stuff, maybe some different sports. We'll see what we can get into.
Maybe we'll bring in a guest.
Maybe we'll bring in a guest. We've got 2 extra mics in this studio, so we can.
We have 2?
Yeah, there's one over there.
Oh,
we
can hook that up.
We can hook it up.
Sure
we could get it going. So let us know what you guys like. Give us some feedback. Anything specific you want us to talk about? Questions, comments, concerns, all the fun stuff. That's all we have for you today. You guys have a wonderful afternoon, evening, morning, whatever you're listening to on.
And we'll see you next week.
And we'll see you next week.